Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts.
Archlector George.
And Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
As you know, we're covering Before They Are Hanged, the second book in the original trilogy. And for this episode, we'll be covering Beneath the Ruins, No Good for Each Other, and The Hero's Welcome. So let's get started. As usual, you know we got to thank you all for your support. And just reminding you to please follow us on social media and our YouTube page. We like it so much. Thank you.
Bye. That's the episode.
That's it. Any of you want to add anything? Like talk about the YouTube page, your goofballs?
Yeah, in case anybody hadn't listened to the last episode, the second part of the Great Northern War is out. So go watch it. Let me know what you think. Took a lot of effort to make that. And it's not even that good.
I think it's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Just like the shit website that I've been making, which you guys just very nicely pointed out I could have just done in about 10 seconds a different way.
Yeah, George had put on 37 separate episodes on the website.
Yeah,
like,
and
I thought it was kind of cool.
It took me a minute to realize that every single time you open that page, you downloaded about 20 gigabytes worth of episodes.
Holy shit.
So anybody who clicked on the website in the last 2 days, I'm really sorry.
Okay. Anyways.
Thanks for that, George. Thanks for coming clean and being honest. All right, so let's get started with our first chapter read through. And this one is Beneath the Ruins. So we come to this chapter and it's Farrell and Logan. They're still alive after falling down that chasm from where we left them off when Giselle tried to be a hero and failed spectacularly at it. Turns out that they fell down into this giant cavern, but they were still able to land on a ledge. And Logan's still kind of confused. And Farrell's just, mushing him on. Come on, Pink. Let's go. And he's like, Jesus Christ. All right. But they still have to be quiet and stealthy as they make their way down this little hallway because, Shanker's still all around. And then they get to this little hallway, and Farrell's like, all right, let's go. And Logan's like, you sure about this? He's like, what, are you scared of the dark? He's like, I'm afraid of not being able to see. And she's like, why don't you just stay here? Maybe another pack of idiots will come wandering through in 100 years. You'll fit right in. And I was like, yeah. And then Logan, at this point, this man saved her life. Right. Well, he thought he saved her life.
Well, he's trying to. He's trying his best.
He's tried his best. He's been nice to her. He's made an effort to connect with her, and he has just had enough. And he goes, do you have to? And she goes, have to what? Be a cunt. Do you have to be a cunt? It's like, goddamn.
Logan does not fuck around. He's going straight for the jugular there. What the fuck?
Right.
Do you have to be a cunt?
And then she goes, you should have let me fall. And he's confused, like, huh? And then she's like, you should have let me fall. This way I'd be by myself without you fucking ignorant ass in here. And he's like, oh, you know what? I'm tired of your shit.
And then immediately goes, when she goes to leave, he's like, wait for me.
He's like, wait, Farrell, wait, I can't see. And then Farrell's like, calm down, it's okay. Like how you calming an anxious puppy. It's like, shh,
yeah.
It's okay. She grabs him by the hand and then she starts leading him. And then he's like, fuck, I'm the most feared man in the North, and he's like being guided down a dark passageway by a woman, which is totally okay. We just want to remind you all that's totally okay.
Careful, Jeffrey.
In this fictional universe with fictional characters, there's probably some level of sexism here. Okay, just saying.
I really like how they react to each other too, because despite them being knocked down, they still have this weird bitterness thing going, and Logan's all like, all that work, all the effort I put into this relationship, nothing. Even after trying to save my life, she doesn't give a shit. And then she's just like, yeah, I don't give a shit. And then it switches to her POV, and she's like, everything's changed. She was like, he's actually a pretty good guy. And maybe she should have said thank you. She's actually being introspective for once, and it's really refreshing. But it's also kind of hilarious because in her head, she's like, oh, I actually really appreciate Logan. And Logan's like, she doesn't appreciate me.
Yeah, she doesn't know how to appreciate. And then
she does not show it.
And then when they get to the end of the hallway, he can see. You can start to see. Pharaoh's like, "Fine, you can see him now. You can see now." And she lets go of the hand. But then now that she let go of the hand, she's like, "Actually, I kind of want to hold his hand." It's like, "Oh,
This is the weirdest flirting ever.
ever." It is. It's like, "Fuck you, Pink. Can I touch your face?" It's like, okay. Then we find out that there are like 3 Shanka just chilling around something on the floor, and then they realize that they're eating
all of the dead bodies from when Glustrod nuked Elkus.
Yeah, from when Glustrod had his little party. So they just go into those graves because remember Baya said that they just like threw all the bodies into like mass graves. So I guess the Shanka is just like, there's a smorgasbord up in here, and they just eat those the corpses.
I like that the how they assume, as Logan and Pharaoh typically do, that because the other people aren't around them, they must be dead. They have zero hope for them. They're just like, yep, they're dead. No doubt in my mind.
Right. Because after Pharaoh takes out the 3 Shanka with their arrows, Logan's like, damn. He's like, you're really good with that bow and arrow. You are a devil. Baez is right. And she's like, was right. It's like, giving up hope already? Jesus.
Man, they start going down like a big pile of bones because there's, Joe says, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of bones, and they start sneaking down, and it's as typically usual. They're traveling down, and Pharaoh's like all stealthy, and then Logan trips and falls all the way down a huge pile of bones.
but this is very true, and that's the second time that's happened. But in his defense, the man is hurt. He can't put no weight on the leg. He can't put any weight on one leg, right? I think, and his shoulder's jacked up. He's like, but when he's the Bloody Nine, he's very stealthy.
Let's say one thing for Logan 9 fingers. Say he's stealth.
Say he makes a racket.
If he knows, if Logan is in a forest. Or if Logan is in an environment that he knows, he is stealthy as shit. But if he's not in an environment he doesn't know, he is terrible.
That's true. And here, as they're going further into the cavern, Pharaoh retrieves her arrows from the dead Shanka, and Logan's kind of like staring at him, and he's just like, "They killed my family."
He's just going like proper like edgelord, like loads of work killing him over the mountains. There's nothing left now, and she's just like, Logan. He's just like, nothing left at all.
She's like, we need to move, and he's like, "Oh, back to the mud." It's like, it's like, all right, Clint Eastwood from Unforgiven. Just let's just
I love this bit where he's like, I need you to stay cold. It's like, I am cold. And then it breaks and it just goes, Logan was hot.
I love this little their little conversation here too, because Pharaoh can like see what's going on. Like she can see that he's slowly like this becoming all distant and stuff. And she's seen this behavior like once before. And even just a little bit ago, they were both thinking about the first time that they were with each other, one-on-one, hiding and running, and so it's like another reference back to whenever they were in Adua. They both thought about it, and so in this moment, they're both thinking like in that time. And then Logan's, it's pretty sad because he's thinking about like all those people who dead, because he basically says there's nothing left in the, north of the mountains, and presumably one reason why Logan has a dark past is perhaps because he lost himself, as you stated before. And this is probably all those people being dead, his family, his land, his village, all being killed by Shanka is probably a huge trigger for that. And just seeing all these bodies, it's kind of, like you said, it's kind of edgelord, but at the same time, it is kind of sad.
It is extremely sad. I did mean that as a joke, but
yes, you did. Fuck that. It's sad for Logan. It's sad for Logan. It's not sad for us. All right. Don't worry about it, George.
Empathy, Jeffrey.
Nah.
And then he finds another knife, and he's like, "You can never have too many knives." And she's like, "No, unless you fall in the lake and drown."
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, fair enough.
Good point. And he puts it back.
he puts it back, which is like the best part.
And he put it carefully back too, like the knife was gonna drown him all of a sudden.
Yeah. He's
But
a very
yeah,
literal thinker, isn't he?
nah, he's yeah. Sometimes he gets right to the point. And here, so we go back to what you were saying, George. That when she's like, "I need you to stay cold," and he's like, "I am cold." Logan was hot, so there's a break. Logan's hot. He's sweating right now. They're walking through this cavern, and then they get to another larger cavern, right? And there's like forges going on. There's a lot of fires, and the Shanka they're thriving. All right, they are thriving. They are living their best life in this cavern right now. They're making weapons. They're eating human bones that have been dead for thousands of years. They're living their best life. And Logan can't deal with this. And then he at some point he didn't realize he drew the sword, the Maker sword, and he's like, "Oh boy." And Pharaoh's not paying attention. Pharaoh's like, "Hey, we need to find another way around all this. This is way too many Shanka. We can't deal with this." And he's like, "No." And he's like, "Get behind me." And she's like, "Uh-oh." And then he takes a couple steps, and now, ladies and gentlemen, we have the return of the Bloody Nine. And Harrison, you said this man was not sneaky. Well, he snuck behind this one Shanka, this first Shanka, pretty efficiently, I must add, because he split his ass open in the homicidal way, not in a,
not in a gay way. Just so that just to be clear.
In a murderous capability, in the murderous way.
I love that he's all like, it switches POVs essentially, and he barely says "get behind me" to Pharaoh before the Bloody Nine takes over, and he just stands up all tall. He was like, "Ah!"
I love the smell of Shanka in the morning
because they're about to be dead.
Oh man, and yeah, he does terrible things to the Shanka. I can't even explain it. He just decimates all of them. They they all either run away or they try to grab their weapons and they cut at him. But apparently he has, I don't want to say plot armor, but the man is just the angel of death. He's the Grim Reaper. You can't touch death.
He gets so fucking brutal as well. Like he shoves that one Shanka's head down into the molten steel, and he's just like, "This is getting rough." And he's just like laughing, like, "Burn, you fucker!"
Yeah. Anytime this man comes out, we'll see it. We'll see it again. This isn't spoilers. Everybody who is like, anytime we get another POV, everyone's fucking terrified of Logan. Like, he is a scary motherfucker because he fucking lives for this moment. And like, that's what it seems like, is that he came to this place just to kill these Shanka. And these Shanka are just, like you said, living their best life, just doing their own thing. And this guy comes out of nowhere and they're like, "What the hell?"
This rude man came and fucked up the party. Stacy was over there drinking her mimosa.
Yeah. Stacy the big one.
Stacy's the big one.
This big one comes up after he kills like a dozen of them, and this big one comes up, and probably more, yeah. And this big motherfucker comes up, and he's like a big Shanka, which is interesting because there are different sizes of Shanka, and this one just seems to be thick. Stacy is a thick bitch.
That Shanka got a fat ass.
Jeffrey.
Anyways, he's all like, he's got like armor and shit too. Like this Shanka is like ready to battle.
Yeah.
He's got armor on. He's got a weapon, and Logan's like, "Oh, you think you're big and tough?" And he kills him, no problem, pretty much. And then smashes his head so much. He smashes his head over and over and over again. And then fucking the Bloody Nine's like, "Flat head."
Yeah.
Wait, I think he smashes the head of the other person, the other one, because the armor, the armor Shanka, he I'm
Yeah,
just
it
gonna
was a
cut this
different
bit.
one, I think.
Yeah, he cuts him. He splits him open too, and then he just rips his guts out.
Oh, you're right.
And,
You're right.
and then there's 3 left, and then he's just like he's walking to them with the guts in his hand. It's like, oh Jesus Christ.
And they're just trying to run away.
Yeah.
The poor
Yeah.
Shanka.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Now that-
interesting too. At the beginning, you know, like they don't know the difference between, you know, if they're somebody's like Logan first got knocked off that cliff. He was like, the Shaker doesn't know the difference between like self-preservation and, you know, trying to kill something. They know what self-preservation is though, because they're like, holy shit.
Yeah, they know how to run away. They're like, we out. Bye.
And he turns around and suddenly there's none left. And he's just like starts screaming at the darkness, like, "Where the fuck are you? I'll find you."
But
Yeah.
during this whole brunch party, right? He did notice that some of them had arrows in them. He's like, "Who the fuck is, you know,
He's stealing my kills, bro.
who's stealing my kills count? You know, who's fucking up my shit?" And he's like, he doesn't know who Pharaoh is, and he's obviously gonna like want to kill her. And then she comes up to him, right? And she's like, she has an arrow trained on him, while you know Logan, aka the Bloody Nine, is like losing. He's like, oh, I'm about to lose consciousness. She's like, are you safe? She's like, I don't want to get near you, and I don't want to kill you, but I will if I have to. And he's like, this bitch. And he goes, cunt, bitch.
Yeah. I mean, we see a lot of the Bloody Nine being not very eloquent, but that's just got to take the cake, hasn't it? Cunt, bitch.
The Bloody Nine got no etiquette. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He seems to he's very if Logan takes things literally, his other persona takes them even more literally. He's like, flathead, stone shitter. He's a dumbass.
Pussy haver.
Yeah. He's just like Beavis and Butthead, like lovely humor.
Yeah.
For real. And then Logan comes back to, you know, consciousness. He's alive again. He's like, oh, why am I in so much pain right now? Because counter to, you know, what the Bloody Nine thinks, he does get stabbed, he does get cut, he does get hurt, he just doesn't feel it. Logan has to deal with all that afterwards, which is not a very fair, well, actually I guess it is a fair relationship, right? Like the Bloody Nine saves his life, but you know, he makes Logan have to deal with it.
There's no relationship, Jeffrey.
Whatever, the dynamic, whatever. And so he's like, okay, at least I didn't kill Pharaoh, thank God. And then so they have to keep moving, and they get to like a river, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, they go for a long time though, right? Like he says he doesn't know how long they go to. There's a couple times that they have to hide from the Shenka. And then they're about to cross the little threshold, and he notices water, like water's running through, probably like a little tributary coming out from the that's going running into the river or something, like a little creek bed. So they go down because they even I like this part too, because they're not just underground. There's parts where there are timbers holding up the ground underneath, which is obviously from the Shenka digging. But then there's other parts where they go through like ancient halls that are completely abandoned, or other times whenever there are, you know, crawling and things, which is kind of cool. I like how there's like this range of this. They go through catacombs and underground works, and then they run into like a little outlet. It's kind of cool. But they, he points out that there's water going out a place, so they go over to it and they find a grate, and they.
Well, hold on. Not yet. You're skipping. Hold on. So yeah, they go down this stream. They decide to just, you know, wade through it, and Pharaoh's like, "Come on, let's go." And he's like, "Oh fuck, fine." He gets in, and he's like, "There's no changing her mind. There's never any changing her mind." He's like, "Right behind you. I'm coming right behind you." He's just exhausted. This man is tired. He killed 400 Shenka in 2 minutes, you know, and he fell off a rock while saving Pharaoh's life. The man is exhausted. And then that's it. That's the end of this chapter, because that's the end of this chapter.
How would you guys rate this one?
I'm going to give it a 8 out of 9 fingers. Come on, when the Bloody Nine makes an appearance, you got to give it a good score.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with 8 as well. I fucking love every single moment with the Bloody Nine, and there's so few of them that they stand out so much. Just how different he is from Logan. Like the way that he thinks, like, I love these bits where he's like, they could not have expected vengeance to find them here where they lived and breathed and toiled, but they would learn. It's just like so menacing. And I especially love the change in voice for the audiobooks. Like, you can just listen to this over and over. So, yeah.
I'm going to have to do that, yeah. Harrison?
I'm going to go with 8 as well. Because same reason you guys said. There's also this really good dynamic of Pharaoh and Logan, and how they are at the beginning and how they see each other. And it's not just an action scene; it's got all that the culmination of their characters coming together and working together a little bit better, and thinking, like Pharaoh especially. And Logan's just like, what's the point? She doesn't care, and she's like, oh man, I care now. And it's entertaining, and then they have this whole scene where Logan fucking just goes berserk mode, so it's pretty good. It's a really good action scene.
No, for sure. All right, well, thank you for that, gentlemen. We'll move on to our next segment, which is best meme of the week. Take it away, George.
Spoilers for The Last Awakening of the King, so skip ahead like 2 minutes if you don't want that. So this week it's Tam El Bor.
Yay!
Hey, Tam El Bor. How's it going? It's been a while. And this is just like the Quentin Tarantino meme where he's walking around his house. And I think this is the second time we've had this one, so I do like that. A bit of continuity there. And it's when RD refuses to be your secret whore. So yeah, it was a good one. Thank you very much, Tam El Bor.
So moving on to our second chapter read through, it's no good for each other. So we pick right back up from where we left Pharaoh and Logan. Not really, because they had already made it to the end of the river. I guess that they made it. So this is where I got confused. I guess they just followed the river upstream, and they got out of the caverns, and they're back into the city, essentially, right? They're back into office here. Yeah. Okay, so when I first read this, I always thought that what transpired in this chapter transpired underground, but now it makes more sense that they were in the city, they're in the mill. Got it.
They started up underground, but they slowly, I think, worked their way up.
Right. Yeah, and I guess it couldn't have fallen too far. They couldn't have been too deep underground because they would have gotten moited. That fall would have been, fatal for them. So, okay. So, yeah, they make it out of the cavern. They're safe now in this Hiroshima of the old empire. And
I love how they're getting out. Like Logan just lies down on the ground and he's just like, "That's it, I'm fucking done. I'm not moving anymore."
Yeah. He just collapses.
Oh, right before they actually get to this part, I think he hold on. I might have to cut that out.
That's right. It still kind of makes sense.
No. Because she's like, we still need to...
Oh, they go outside the city, I believe. They get outside.
Right. This is... But after they open the gate, right? Those iron bars or whatever, like the... Right?
The grate?
Yeah, the grate.
Yeah, it's just after they climb out through the grate and then just before they get to the mill.
Right. Yeah, this is the part when they have to like pull apart the bars. Pharaoh's freezing. She's never been cold like this before. She grew up in the Badlands. She grew up in the summer. She's a sweet summer child, and she's out here being like frozen to death. And then Logan's just exhausted. He's like, I can't walk no more. And then she's like, we gotta go while we still have light. And he's like, you call this light, bitch?
Are you fucking crazy? And he's like, you know I am.
You know I am.
He's like, fuck. So then they get to a mill, a ruin of a mill. And then Pharaoh's like, okay, we'll stop here. And he's like, thank God. And he's like, he sits at, he lets himself slide against the wall and just like falls to the ground almost. And he hears Pharaoh's teeth, clattering, how cold she is, the whole that.
Oh, what was that? What was that, Jeffrey?
I don't know how to do it.
You just did it.
That was me.
Oh, you fucking just.
Hold on, let me try this.
No, that's in a minute, Jeffrey. That's not yet. That's here in a minute.
That's what?
Wrong sound, Jeffrey. That happens in a minute.
That's hilarious. So he knows that she's cold, so he takes off his coat and he offers it to her. And she's like, "What's this for?" He's like, "It's a coat." He's like, "Look, I can hear your teeth rattle, and I got nothing much to offer you, but I got you. I got this coat. So here, take it. There's no shame in that." She's like, and for once, she takes it and she says, "Thanks." And he's like, "Wow." And he's like, "All right, and to you." And then she goes, "What?" And he explains, for all the help, under the city, on the hill, the stones, and on the roofs, referring back to Adwa. And he basically he's saying, you've done a lot, and you're a good person. You're all right in my book, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And then
you want to fuck?
It's just silence. It's just silence. It's just silence on her end. And he's like, "Oh my God, I shouldn't ever talk. I swear to God." And then out of nowhere, "George, you want to try that again?"
You want to fuck?
And he's like, "Huh?"
Yeah.
And then she goes, "Go ahead."
What, Pink? You gone deaf on me?
He's like, "Have a what?"
Yeah.
All right, forget it.
He's like, "Oh."
He's like, whoa.
He's like, "Well, hold on. Wait. I'm not saying no. I just wasn't expecting this from you. If well, it's like, if you're asking, are you asking?" She's like, "You're not saying no, or you're saying yes?" And he's like,
Yes, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I? Yeah, of course.
I'm saying yes. And then I like this description. She goes, "Huh." And then he says that he saw the outline of her face frowning down at the ground, thin lips pressed angrily together, like she'd been hoping for a different answer and wasn't quite sure what to do with the one he'd given.
Well, I love it too because she's even in her own little head thing. You could even think of her thinking like, "Why did I say that? That was stupid. Never sleep with anybody." Pharaoh Maljin feels nothing, but fearing is she does not like to have intercourse with other people on a whim. What's wrong with you? She's just like berating herself right now.
What are you saying, that Pharaoh's a prude? She's like, "I need to get to know a man before I suck that dick."
No, she's all like, she admits here in a minute that goes against her rules, so she's already berating herself for that.
Right.
She's like, "Oh, why did I say that?"
Yeah.
Because Pharaoh is a soldier, God damn it, and you salute her. But I do like how she goes, "How do you want to get it done?" And he's like, "Well, gotta get closer." Like, I like this. He's like, "Look, I hope my cock ain't disappointed, but it ain't gonna reach you over there."
Yeah. And then it's like he smiled and then cursed to himself when she didn't. It's like, oh crap.
He knew she wasn't one for jokes.
And then she's like, "All right then," and then she just goes and like walks up to him like all businesslike, and he's like, "Oh, sorry," like it almost made her falter, and he's like, "Sorry, it just has been a while." And then she goes, "No, neither for her, right? She hasn't had sex in a long time." So then they start, touching each other, caressing each other.
It's surprisingly sweet.
It is, because she's like rubbing the stump of his middle finger, the one that doesn't exist anymore, and he's like grabbing her hair and he's touching her scar, and then they start like pulling at each other's clothes and stuff. Like, okay, get it, Joe Abercrombie's a romance novelist all of a sudden. Let's get it.
Yeah.
But what's nice about it too is this whole scene is kind of sweet, but it's not really romantic. It's just like it's so perfect for these two characters, but it is not like oh, that's beautiful. It's more like a, oh yeah.
It's like something that you really shouldn't be shouldn't be watching. You
Yeah,
shouldn't.
yeah.
I probably shouldn't be reading this right now.
Yeah, it's like almost too intimate, but also kind of weird.
Yeah. And this is gonna. When I first read this, I was like, "What the fuck?" Like it was the least expected thing ever, and it's so awkward that it just comes across so well.
Well, but here's the thing. At first, it's not awkward, right? Like that initial part where the touch. Well, okay, it is awkward at first when Pharaoh like speeds up on him. He's like, "Oh shit!" He's taking it back.
Don't rip it off.
Yeah, but then when they start touching each other, it's the nice. It's like intimate. It's like, okay, all right, we're getting in the mood, and then they start trying to take each other's clothes off. Then what gets awkward is that Logan, I guess he's so goddamn nervous and he can't see that well because he's half blind in the dark. He can't take off her clothes, so she's like, "I'll do it myself," and then she like opens his trousers. Goes down crotch to crotch, and she grabs the, you know what? And this part is where he's like, you don't have to lift me up by it.
All right. Better.
And then he dragged at her belt and fumbled it open and just dug his hand inside. He's like, not so subtle, but he's never been known for subtlety. And then they had to like work on getting her trousers off so he can, slide his hand up there. It's a good thing he still had one middle finger. They have their uses. It's like, woo!
And now we will quickly run through the by quickly I mean extremely quickly. There's sounds. It goes as Jeffrey. Just let me. Jeffrey, it'll be funny. Shut up, Jeffrey. Jeffrey. It goes as what? You're joking. Well, I just got started.
And I've got to give credit to Stephen Pacey for that as well. The audiobook is fantastic.
The man's committed.
I gotta say, I skip this every single time I read this book on the audiobook because sometimes I'm at work and I'm just like, I hope nobody can overhear this on my headphones because this is so weird.
Hold on. I am not letting you speed through this. This is amazing writing right now.
Okay, Jeffrey.
All right.
I'll be Pharaoh.
No, you have no idea how to build up, man. Build it up, bro. All right, listen. So he's up there, up in her cooch, right? Just
What the fuck? Like Donald Duck? What the shit?
It did sound like Donald Duck.
The squelch. Joe likes the word squelch a lot. I'm just trying to bring that to life.
More than a bit painful, more than a bit pleasant.
And then Pharaoh is like, all right, it's time to get down to it. So she takes a hand and goes, and spits in it.
Jeffrey.
Nah, man, what are you, 12? We can do this. And then she lowers herself onto Logan, and Logan's like, oh, mama. And then, all right, you be Pharaoh, Harrison. I'll be Logan, okay? All right. Harrison.
Harrison's dead.
I'm busting up laughing over here. They just go back and forth, okay? They're just making sex sounds.
Yeah, they're gonna go back and forth. You're Pharaoh. I'm Logan, okay? Harrison. Do you want? I'll have George do it if you want.
I'm all right. I just did it by myself.
Jeffrey,
we gotta give the listeners what they want. We gotta give the
Jeffrey,
listeners what they want.
Jeffrey, they've heard enough.
They have not. All right, I'm gonna go.
Go ahead, do it. Go. Do it all intimately. Go on.
You're not gonna be Pharaoh?
I can't.
All right, fine.
I'm laughing my ass off.
Fine. Then Pharaoh goes. Pharaoh goes. and then
Faster, Jeffrey. They're going at a decent pace here now.
no, there's a rhythm. There's a rhythm to it. There's a rhythm. and then.
What the fuck is that?
That's not what sex sounds like.
That's a zombie.
I'm reading URRR. and then
What you say?
and then we have a and then what? You're joking. I was just getting started. Well, I did say it's been a long time. Must have been years.
And I love it when it's like, must have been years. And then she wiped herself off with one hand and smeared it angrily down the wall.
Right, when she slid off his wilting cock.
My throat hurts.
And then she goes and lays down under the coat, all pissed. And Logan's just like, fuck.
Say one thing for Logan, 9 fingers. Say he's a lover.
Yeah. All that time waiting, and he hadn't been able to keep the milk in the bucket. Wow. And then he's looking at Pharaoh. He's like, man, I didn't realize it, but she's got a look at that body. And then he's like, well, hold on a minute. Hold on. I bet you he flicks his dick. Just click, click. He's like, up.
Or, but definitely stiffening. Say the line. The advantage of having a long time without. The bucket fills up again quick.
Yeah, okay, I'll do it. Yeah, he flicks it, and it's like, it's stiffening, and he's like, the one advantage of having a long time without, the bucket fills up again quick.
That's such a weird fucking line.
It is, and it's a weird one to read. And so then he slides down next to her, right? He scoots on over, and then he's like, he clears his throat, and then she's like, what? But not too repelling.
Not too harsh.
Yeah, not too harsh, right? Not too harsh. And he's like, well, just give me a little, give me a minute, and maybe a little, And he's like, he puts his hand on her side, and I actually just caught this for the first time. He's like, he runs it up her side slow, so she had plenty of time to shove him off. So because it wouldn't have surprised him if she turned over and kneed him in the nuts. But she did it. and then she's like, why should I give you another chance?
Oh my god.
That's awful.
but she says that while pressing her ass up against his stomach, and lifting one knee up, and he's like, I don't know. And then this is a smooth line. This is a smooth line as he puts his hand down her, between her legs. He's like, same reason you gave me the first one. I was like, okay, Logan, okay.
Smooth.
Smooth.
Jeffrey, are you satisfied with running through every detail of this sex scene?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you like to go one more time, sir?
We are not skipping over this, bro. This is a classic sex scene. This is a classic sex scene. All right, the most infamous one of all of the novels that have been written.
What? Are you sure about that?
Oh, besides, okay. Well, this is one of the best. This is one of the most memorable sex scenes. All right, come on. You can't just skip over it. What's wrong with
They're all memorable for their own reasons.
Look, Harrison, I understand you came from a Mormon background and everything, but listen, sometimes the world is just
Mormon. Jeffrey, my dick is taller than you are.
It might be. I don't know.
What's that going to do being a Mormon?
I know, right?
I didn't even grow up Mormon. Fuck you, Jeffrey.
I'm messing with you. Harrison grew up Episcopalian. So then there's a bit of a break, and Pharaoh wakes up with a sudden jolt for no reason, and she's thrashing around, and she gets up, And then she's like, "What the fuck?" And she's like, "Oh, wait a minute, I fucked him." And Logan is stumbling up. He's like, "What the fuck?" Because he's like, "What happened?" And he's like, "Oh, he got elbowed in the face by Pharaoh." So he's like, "What the fuck happened?" And she goes and she's looking at him and she's like, "Oh no." That she made 3 mistakes. She fell asleep, and apparently that's not good. I mean, I guess what, she never sleeps? That's ridiculous. She elbowed Logan in the face, and what was even worse was that she had fucked him the night before. Like, that is just gonna complicate things.
Madness.
Madness. And then she didn't know, she wanted to say sorry and she didn't even know the word for it. So all she could say it in Cantic, which is interesting that she can't say sorry in the common tongue, but in Cantic. But she knows enough of the common tongue to talk to Logan and Giselle and Baez and all them.
She's just never had a reason to learn the word sorry.
Yeah. All right, what is that? So she says it in Cantic, but she said it angrily because she was angry at herself. So she growls it at him like an insult, and he took it as an insult. He doesn't know what Cantic is, and he's just like, "This fucking crazy bitch." And then that gives her all the ammo she needs to be angry, even more angry. She's like, "Fucking pink," whatever. And then she's like trying to put on her clothes, and then she has Harrison, like you've talked about in terms of like self-reflection. She wanted to try to explain to him actually that nothing good ever happens when she sleeps. That she was about to tell him that she just made a mistake. She only wanted to be warm, and she was about to ask him to wait. And she half turned to him, but he was already stomping out with all the clothes and with the rest of his clothes in one hand. And then she goes, "Fuck him then."
But that was the whole problem.
Harrison, do you want to talk about this? I know you like to talk about Pharaoh's like introspection.
Yeah, kind of the whole scene as this entire section is interesting to me because she talks about how before, how she fucks people to get things, and here she doesn't fuck Logan to get something. And that is interesting because she has had lovers in the past that she talks about. But at the same time, it makes you wonder, because we don't know her point of view from there. Did she do it because the way she was raised and the kind of life that she lived? Did she fuck him purely for feelings? Or did she fuck him because she felt like she had to reward him and was treating him like shit still? Was it still toxic by her by her initiating sex with him, and that's why she kind of regretted it, because she was thinking about whether she actually wanted to or she was doing it just to reward him, as she's unfortunately had to do in the past. And there's no way to know for sure, but I just find that part interesting to think about why it might still be toxic and why their relationship goes in a certain direction.
That's an interesting point. I will say though that I remember, I can't remember if it was in the Blade itself or early in this book. She mentioned, like, in her point of view, in her mind's eye, she talked about that she's had sex even with like, people that she's like, when she was running away from the Emperor and all that stuff. She had sex with people, but it was just sex. It wasn't like for anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true. That's true. I just think it's interesting for them to, in particular, because it seems like, I don't know, she regrets it.
Right. I think she regrets it, not because, well, I think the dynamic was Logan has been there, right? He's never broken his promise to like have her back. He's always had her back. He wouldn't even let go of her when she tried to let go of him when they were like on the stone. And he keeps trying to make jokes. He even says like, "Do you have to be such a cunt?" He's like, "Can't you just like get along?" He's always shown, like, at least with her, his intentions are he's just trying to be a decent person, as decent as a person called the Bloody Nine can be. But and he gives her his coat, and it was just an act of just, here, take this coat. He didn't even ask for anything. He was about to fall asleep, and I think Pharaoh, as much as she tries to fight it, is obviously has a connection with Logan, is developing feelings for him, and this is Pharaoh and Logan we're talking about. There's not going to be a courting period, there's not going to be a, well, do you want to make out with me while we overlook these mountain of human bones? You know, it's like it's not happening. But so the only way they can kind of even get to the next step in this so-called relationship, if there's going to be one, is just get straight to fucking. That's it. And Pharaoh, there's no games. I appreciate that about Pharaoh. She's a soldier. She's just like, you want to fuck?
Yeah.
I'm like, good on her. So I don't think it's I mean, it very well could be. Maybe because like you're saying, she's been conditioned that like if she's fucking, it's in service to something or like as repayment for something, right, Harrison? It could be that. But I think in this interaction, I think is genuine. I think she said she just wanted to be warm. She like gave into a moment of weakness. For some reason, cold and tired in the dark, she had wanted to touch someone and be warm for just a moment. And she had let herself think who would be worse off for it.
Right. Yeah. And that's fair.
You know?
It's just interesting.
It is though.
Because yeah.
It's a good way to like analyze that stuff from a different perspective. I like that, Harrison.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
But we you know, they're kind of upset with each other, but then we switch over to Giselle's point of view.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Giselle is I guess they had made it to to that meetup spot that Baez had mentioned earlier when they got to August. Is like, if we get split up or whatever reason, we meet here. And I guess they went there and they're waiting. Baez, Giselle, Kwai, Brother Longfoot, they're all there, and they're like, how long do we keep waiting? And Baez is like, as long as it takes. And then Longfoot's like, you are of course my employer, and it's scarcely my place to disagree. And he's like, then don't.
Yeah.
But then Longfoot doesn't. He just goes like, Nine Fingers and the woman Malgin are most decidedly dead. They and then
it was like, even if we wait here until the end of time, I fear that we'll make no more. And he's like, as long as it takes.
Giselle's like, I'm not getting in the middle of this. And then Kwai's just like, they're down there.
Yeah.
And then they're like, and they look and they see him. They're making their way up. They're walking towards them. And then Longfoot's like, how in God's name could they have survived? And then Giselle's just happy. He's like, they're right. All right. He's like, somehow there's a bond was formed here, a bond that strengthened quickly, regardless of all the great differences between them. A bond that left his old friendships weak and pale and passionless by comparison. And I was like, that, you need to get your face smashed in once in a while to appreciate people. And then so Giselle's watching them come closer. And then he's like, as they get closer, he's like, God damn. Like Pharaoh has a gash over her forehead. Logan's just all fucked up, his face. And then he's like, you guys all right? And he's like, Pharaoh's like, nothing happened. And then Nine Finger, Logan's like, nothing at all. And then from Giselle's point of view, it's like plainly they have both gone through some awful ordeal that neither one wished to discuss. It's like he's thinking, oh my God, they went through a genocide or something, or they saw terrible things, and then reality is, nah, they just fucked.
Yeah.
I do love this Giselle thing where he starts to do this more and more, where his good nature that he has been cultivating actually turns into like full on ignorance of different people and situations, because he is now thinking about the best in people. So he's not thinking about, oh, they must have fucked. He's just thinking like, oh man, they must have seen something so terrible, so awful that they're just scarred and broken, like how I was broken. Like he's like so empathetic and trying to be so understanding that he's lost some understanding.
Yeah. And then he kind of like, this is not nice on Logan's part, but Giselle's like, so are you all right? And then Logan's like, oh yeah, I'm grand. I'm totally fucking never been better. How did you get that? I was like, God damn, Logan, he's trying to just be nice. And then Kwai's like, the horses pulled out. Oh, because he asked, how did they get the cart out of the temple, I guess, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Kwai's just like, the horses pulled it out. Just monotonous. And then Longfoot over here is like, he has a gift for understatement. It was the most exhilarating ride, and then Logan just doesn't even like puts up with the shit. He's like, "Did you fight your way out?" And he's like, No, of course, my fighting is not mine." He's like, "Didn't think so," and he's like, "What twat?" He just spat. I was like, "Oh shit."
And Baez is like, "Well, we should consider being grateful. We are at least alive." And Pharaoh's like, "Are you sure? You don't look it." And I love this bit in the subtext, like, the makers could not have looked worse if he had actually died, and Alcus died and already begun to decompose.
And then she takes off her shirt, and then now she's naked, right? Or at least her tits are out. Let's just say it. And then Giselle's like, "Ooh," and she's like, "What the fuck you looking at?" He's like, "Nothing." And then when he looked up, he saw that she was putting on a new shirt, and it was one of his shirts. And he's like, "Well, actually, that's one of mine." And then Farrell looked at him. Farrell looked at him with this look, and he's just like, "Yeah, you're welcome to it, of course, though." and then I like this part. It was like, all in all, it was hardly the tearful reunion that Giselle might have hoped for, even if he now did feel like somewhat crying.
Oh,
Like,
poor Giselle.
Poor Giselle.
He's just seeing things in storybook form.
Yeah.
So then they talk about how they're gonna have to find a different way back because they are not going through Alcus again. And then they talk about, well, the issue now is that not all the horses survived. They have 2 horses to pull the cart and 2 to ride. That leaves 2 short in terms of like how many people can ride a horse. Logan doesn't even hesitate. He's like, "I fucking hate horses," and so he just goes he sits in the car. He's like, "Fuck that." And then is between Longfoot, Giselle, and Farrell, and Longfoot's like, "Well, I will of course need a horse to scout forward." So unfortunately, yeah.
And Giselle's just like, well, my leg.
I should probably ride. Which I don't understand. Like, wouldn't him sitting in the cart be better? Unless the cart only had, I don't know. So, but either way, then Farrell looks at the cart, and she looks at Logan for a brief moment, apparently, and Giselle sees it as like a brief and hostile moment, intensely hostile moment, and then she goes, "I'll walk," and that's it. That's the end of the chapter. That's it. So, what do you guys rate that chapter? I know what I'm rating it.
Harrison?
Rate it, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, can you hear me?
Yeah, you okay?
Yeah.
It sounded like you were like disconnected or something.
Oh no, I was just leaning back. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I'll rate it a 6 out of 9 fingers. Wink, wink.
Oh my god.
The bad pun aside, right? I think 6 is actually a perfectly good score for this chapter. Apart from the obvious comedy about how funny this sex scene comes across as, especially if you're not expecting, like, it is funny. It is good.
Especially
and it is extremely awkward.
It's a hilarious and just cringe. It's just everything. It's so good. Yeah. I love it.
What about you, Harrison?
I think I'm gonna rate it a 4, actually.
Harrison just doesn't like sex.
Maybe I just care about our audience's ears and how many of them are going to press fast forward on that part of you breaking it down.
They knew what they were getting into when they signed up for this podcast.
You even break down the fight scenes less accurately than you broke down.
I was going to say we spent twice as long on this than we did on the fight scene.
I just think you're a horny bastard, Jeffrey.
Horny little bugger.
It is kind of like a cringe scene, and it is very entertaining. I laugh at it a lot, but I also feel like skipping it many times. I usually don't, but I always feel like, oh, maybe I should just skip this. It doesn't add anything. But it's good for their characters in that moment, and I like how Giselle reacts afterwards. But really, not really much happens besides it just kind of being funny, and it is a progression of their relationship in an interesting way the more and more times you read all three of the original trilogy books.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I would still just give it a 4. It's okay. It's funny, but it also balances out with how cringy it is.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Harrison. So we'll move straight into our third chapter read through, just because of the character spot we wanted to be after it. So we'll go to the hero's welcome, our third and final chapter read through, and we are in the perspective of our boy Superior Glocta.
It feels like it's been so long.
Yeah, right. Because I guess all the AUKUS stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been a while. Hold on, let me get some water. All right.
I do like how Joe doesn't, how he keeps the tension in AUKUS like there. He doesn't break it up.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's nice. A lot of writers would just be like, okay, we'll come back to them a couple of chapters because that's what I have to do. Joe keeps the tension there the whole time until they're done with that situation, which is nice.
I can imagine definitely after the bit where they fall down, it's just be like, and now we're going to go do a West chapter. And it's like an hour of them walking through the woods. It's like, come on.
Yeah, that would have thrown off the pace, for sure.
Definitely.
And here we so Glocta is arriving back to Adua. He's arrived at the docks from the ship. Him, Frost, Severard, and Vitari. And he's just like, well, time to meet my maker. And Severard's like, well, I'm gonna go to a whorehouse. And he's like, yeah, just stay out of sight for a few days, all right? Just in case. I don't know how this is gonna go. It's probably not gonna go too well with the whole Archlector meeting. And Severard's like, I'm not planning to see outside of this whorehouse for a whole week.
Yeah.
You think I'm a horny bastard?
Which is funny because we know how old Severard is, or at least close to. It's like, damn, bro.
And Glocta's like, Severard, just in case we don't see each other again, good luck. Severard's like, always, and then he just leaves. Like, well, that's a nice parting gift to just be nice to him. Jesus Christ. Anyway, and then Vitari, she's miserable. She's like, this goddamn weather. I guess it's like raining or something, or is it cold now?
Presumably, yeah.
It's in the middle of winter.
It's in the middle of winter. I'm sorry. It's in the middle of winter. I skipped that part. Yeah. So then they have to go speak to Salt, him and Vitari, and he's like, let's go together. We can make a couple. And Frost follows them as well. Excuse me.
I like how.
Can we talk about how Frost said, he's like, omage. How do you omage? I can't
Home
do
again.
it. He's trying to say home again.
Home again. Do you want to do it again?
No. Sorry. Hold on. What the fuck's going on here? Oh, okay. Now, I thought I heard something like banging on the door, but it's not that. All right. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, Frost, he's just happy to be home. And then now they're gonna make their way to Salt's office, but first, Glocta has to go somewhere else. He has to check on a certain appointment, a certain duty that he was supposed to do, take care of, right? And,
I like he hasn't thought about Ardy once the entire time he's been in Dagosca.
Right. No. Once he gets back to Adua, he's like, "Oh fuck, I gotta see her." Shit. So he's like, "All right, I'm gonna go just check on her real quick before I die. Gotta keep this promise, And then he knocks on her door, and it just like creaks open. He's like, "Uh-oh, that's not good." And he has Vitari and Frost, go all stealthily inside, like dun, 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 see what's going on, because it's just there's nothing in there, right? It's fucking empty. And then he goes into like the living room, and he sees Artie sitting in a chair with near the window with her back to him. She's in a white dress, dark hair, just like as he remembered her, just like how we saw her last time. But she's alive because she moves a little bit when he opened the door. And then instead of like saying hi or,
he just really slowly wanders into the room without saying anything.
Well,
creepy bastard.
Yeah, right. But instead of Artie or anyone saying hi right away, first thing she says there's nothing fucking left. And then and Glocta's just like, he doesn't even say anything. He's just like, and and then she gets up. She's like, nothing left, I said. And then she just takes the chair and she just throws it at Glocta. She's like, did you decide to take it as well?
Yeah. And
then,
Galactus just like, actually, I prefer to stand.
which is
It
funny
doesn't
enough.
say anything at all until that moment.
Yeah, which is funny because earlier he say he wants to like sit down.
Yeah, I mean, it's Galactus. He always wants to sit down. And she's just destroyed the only chair.
Yeah. Right before when he knocked, he was like, his back was hurting like hell. He needed to sit down, and he's like, I prefer to stand.
Yeah.
Oh, poor man. And then she's shocked to see him, and he's like, she's like, oh my god, I'm not prepared for visitors. And Glock is like, it's all right. And then he tells Frost is about to like sneak in and like murder somebody, and he's like, it's okay, just wait outside. And then apparently Artie had to explain that like their dad wasn't well off, that he had a lot of debts actually. And so when Major West went, Colonel West, right, went to England, these people came calling to collect, and it was this guy named Fallow, apparently, this money lender, and he took all the money she had and wasn't enough. They took the plate, which I'm not so sure what kind of plate they're talking about. George, you're British. Maybe you can explain.
You're probably talking about like plated plated like cutlery and plates.
Yeah, like
silver plated silver shit.
So, but
Yeah.
like, is there a thing where like just one plate is very nice and fancy?
No, I think it's just like the plate, like in general.
Like for her,
like anything that's
the
plated.
plate is like saying cutlery, like in
Yeah.
plural. Okay, gotcha. Just making sure. I
Yeah,
didn't know.
No, she's talking about one plate. It was just a really nice plate.
It took my one plate. It had the nicest.
It was made of like platinum or something.
They took the jewels, and then they took everything, and they gave her 6 weeks to find the rest. She let her maid go. She sold everything, but they wanted more. Then they came again 3 days ago, and they took everything this time. I'm sorry, they took all the furniture and everything. And apparently, Fallow said that she was lucky to be wearing the dress, to be leaving her the dress that she was wearing. That's how much she has nada. And she admits that she thought of one way to make money, and she was about to, she had the courage, she would have done it. And then Glocta is like, lucky for us both then that you're a coward. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And he gave her his coat too.
I find it interesting that each time we hear about her dad and West's dad, that he just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, I mean, leaving your kids in this state, it's just awful, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That sucks. And she's, wait, hold on. Let me just collect myself. All right. And then she goes, she thanks him for the coat, and she says she tried to find him, but she didn't know like where he was. And I'm sorry for that. I'm here now, but you don't need to worry about anything. You're gonna have to come and stay with me tonight. We'll find a way. And then after that, you're gonna come back home, and this house is going to be just as it was. And she's like, how? And he's like, oh, I'll see to that. Don't you worry. But first of all, let's get you warm. And then, they, and then before they leave or anything, she like closes her eyes, and she's like, I think she's like having like a huge weight off her shoulders has been lifted. And she's like, it's like, she's almost about to cry, it seems like. And then Glocta's like, what do I do? Uh-oh. Do I touch her like Logan touched Pharaoh? Harrison? Does he do that? Does he?
I could just see the look on his face.
I like how Glocta is all like, "Oh, I am the savior of damsels."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Rescuer of young women in distress.
It is actually pretty sweet though that he is instantly like, "Oh, I have to protect her. I have to do this thing," because as we see here in a second, like what he tells Frost, "Go find this guy and go make him fucking talk, make him give all the stuff back and everything. Do this for me." And he's very sentimental about asking him. And he's very sentimental in this chapter as a whole because he's thinking he's going to die and he wants his last acts to be of kindness, which is very interesting because how people react, like Severod and Frost, they don't give a shit. And it's despite however, we're like, oh, Glock is a terrible person, which he is. It's still interesting to me that he wants to not leave off on a bad note and he wants to have like this good thing between all the people that he knows. He doesn't want to leave off on a bad thing. And I would say even this beginning here, it's not just about Artie, it's about him fulfilling his promise to Wes before he dies. And I just find it so interesting that they highlight this too by not just having him be nice, but by showing the difference between his practicals, who he should be closest with, not giving a shit. Like they don't care. Despite him caring.
That's true.
It's just interesting.
I'm sorry about that. I'll cut that silence out.
And
so yeah, so we'll move on. Hold on. And now they make their way to the.
We're gonna go and see the Archlector.
I'm sorry.
We've missed him.
Hold on, sorry. All right. So after Glocta sends Frost to find that fallow fucker, he has to go and see the Archlector. His Eminence. We haven't seen him in a while, right, George?
Yes,
we have missed him. Yep. And on the way there, Vitari's like, you don't like to make things easy. I guess in terms of like just walking up the stairs, he's not asking for help, and he's like, fuck this. He's not about making things easy, and he knows that like this is probably gonna be their last conversation. She's like, why come then if you it's the last conversation, why don't you run? He's like, there's no point. That and I'm curious. And it's like it's on his terms that he goes out, and so they go to the anteroom. He'd been expecting every practical in the building to basically like tackle him, but nothing's happened. And then he goes up to the secretary, the new secretary, by the way, and he goes, I am, and he's like, Superior Glocta, of course, you may go in at once. His Eminence is expecting you.
Yeah.
Glocta's like, what the fuck? And then Vittori's like, I'll wait here. And then
don't bother waiting too long. My last words, perhaps. And then he's like, oh shit, I should have thought some better last words.
And he takes a deep breath. He's like, all right. And then he goes in, and the Archlector's at his desk, and he's writing on some piece of paper. And he looks up, and he's like, Glocta!
He's so happy to see it.
George, why don't you take care of it? I do this. I know you like it.
And he's just like, oh, come on, please, sit down. And he's like, you don't need to ask. You don't need to wait to be asked to sit down. And Glocta's just like, what?
Since when?
And I love how he's looking around like, wait, where's the flatbow? Where's the guy with the axe, like hiding behind the chair? Like,
I like how he's looking at the seat for the briefest moment to check for poison spikes. Like,
yeah. He's just like so sure he's going to be killed, and Salt just pours him a glass of wine, like, excellent work, and he's like, what? What do you mean? Like, it's like, you made Morovia look like an absolute fool. They said it'd last like less than a week, and you were there for fucking 3-4 months. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Glocta was confused because he was, he said, like you say, he says excellent work. And he's like, listen, Your Eminence, my lordship, your graciousness, I gotta be honest, the Goska is probably collapsed already. And he's like, oh, of course it will. You were never gonna hold it like for forever. But as long as you made them pay, and you did that, oh my god. And Glocta's like, so you're pleased? And he's like, I'm delighted.
Yeah. And then he kind of does like try and catch him up with stuff immediately. And I love how he immediately starts asking, like, how did you do it without the money? And he's just like switches from being so like happy and out there to just being like suspicious and looking at him like, how did you manage it? And he's just like, rising early.
Well, I don't think he was suspicious. He was just, not this part. This part, he was just like,
I don't know.
No, look at it. He's so excited. He's like 9 votes to 3. 9 to 3. Next week we'll go further. How the hell did you manage it? And then he gazed at him expectantly. I don't think suspiciously.
No, this bit where he's like, after he says rising early, he says Salt's eye flickered.
Yeah, and
it's like a trace of mistrust.
Yeah, but it's quickly extinguished. So the guy, he's still like in a very positive mood. At the end of the day, nothing's ruining his day.
No, of course not.
Well,
but it's interesting to see.
It is interesting because if we think about this as well here, with how Salt is, he's not happy because Glock did his job. He's happy because it looks good on him.
Right.
Such an ass. But it's like he's going to let the fact that he doesn't know exactly what's going on with that. Like you said, George, he asks him like, "Oh, what is your like? How'd you manage it?" He's okay with not knowing the answer to that for now because he's done he's done better than he ever thought he could. So he's just like, it's fine for now. But that's why his eye flickers because he notices that it seems like a weird answer. But he's just like, you know what? Glock actually did okay. I'm gonna reward my subjects.
Yeah, and here, Salt says that Practical Vitari's letters were just full of admiration. I was like, oh, so she kept her end of the deal, I guess. And then he goes, everything is going great except for the peasants making a nuisance of themselves and England, of course. And he goes, shame about Ladislaw. And then he's like, Ladislaw? What happened? And then Salt goes, you didn't hear? Oh, another one of Chief Justice Moravia's intelligent plans.
Yeah.
He basically tells Glock that Moravia's idea was to give Ladislaw command of, give him a command in the north, something out of the way where he'd be in no danger, and we could put heap him with glory. It wasn't a bad scheme, except that out of the way became in the way, and he commanded himself straight into his grave. And he's like, his army with him? He's like, just a few thousand, but mostly the rubbish the nobles sent us. Like, geez, they're people still.
Nothing of significance, just 4,000 people.
Yeah. And then he straight up admits, it's like, it's for the better anyway. Ladislaw, man, I've had to rescue that boy out of so many cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we find out through West's perspective just then that we knew he was an a-hole, but we didn't realize he was like a goddamn rapist.
Yeah.
And then we hear here that he was always that way. Archlector still had to get him out of trouble multiple times for that exact reason. And you're like, damn, Jesus Christ. Just keeps getting better.
Yeah, I know. And then he says that Reynaud seems to be a different kind of man. Sober, sensible, do what is bloody told. Better all around.
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't go get himself killed, we'll be fine. Unless, if he dies, then we're fucked. But whatever. And then he goes...
And I love how Glockter's like anxiously about to explain to Salt about the eater, and he's just like, I know, he's an eater. And he's like, what? What do you mean you know? He's like, a cult abomination, a tale straight from a storybook. Eating the flesh of men is a practice well established in the barbaric South.
Yeah.
But don't worry, I'm taking advice.
Taking advice is the best line.
I bet this is what Glockto's worrying about the whole time. He's like, how am I going to explain to this motherfucker that this crazy 14-year-old bitch is out here eating people, and it took 3 people to take her down? Like, how am I going to explain this? He's like, he clears his throat, and he's like, while he's in a good mood.
Yeah.
There is one thing I want to talk to you, Your Eminence. How do I say this? The spy. Yeah. Oh man, he's like already taking advice. By who?
Yeah, I like how he's. What makes you wonder how Salt views it. Is he view it like Galacto? He doesn't really believe it, but there's something there, and he's just like, I'm already looking to know how to figure it out. But it sounds like he knows exactly what it is. But it's also kind of weird too, because it makes you wonder. It gives you kind of hint and makes you wonder how much Salt is not just thinking that it's fairy tales and stuff like Glockter. Like, how much is he buying into full-on eaters doing things?
Right. And when Glockter asks, like, well, who gives advice about these kind of things? Our Archlector just says, you must be tired. The weather over there can be so tight. You're draining. All that heat. Ugh. Take a rest. You deserve it. I'll send for you if anything comes up. And then he just goes back to writing. That's it. And then Glock is just confused. He's just like,
Yeah, he's still playing
huh?
it close to the chest.
Yeah.
Like he's happy that Glock did what he wanted, but he's also still, what is the term? Not trusting of Glock.
Yeah. You always got to be apprehensive if you're in that position, you know? I guess. And so Glockta leaves the office, and he goes, how? And Vitari's like, how was it? And then he goes, Salt was pleased. Huh. And she's like, well, damn well better be after all, after all the compliments I gave you. And he's like, huh, seems like I owe you an apology. He's like, fuck that, just trust me next time. He's like, of course. And he's like, you got
You gotta be kidding me.
Like in his head, he's got to be like, bitch, you tripping. And then it's a bit of a break, and then we go back to the chamber, the house of Artie's house, and it looks amazing, doesn't it, guys?
Well,
Almost
it looks like
overfilled.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like somebody with. Well, we'll get a description later. It's kind of perfect.
Yeah, it is packed to the brim with nice things, nice furniture, paintings, everything. I'm assuming there's a plate in here somewhere, George. You're the plate.
I'm sure there's lots of spoons.
China.
No, it's not called China. It's called like Soljuk.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's gotta be, hasn't it? They can't have something called China.
Yeah.
So it's fine Soljuk? Is that what you're telling me? Fine Soljuk?
No. Soljuk is known for silk, guys. Come on.
Yeah, just like China is.
Yeah, he's got you there.
You're saying that there doesn't mean there has to be fine cutlery for fucking the equivalent of China just because our world China has like a whole fucking brand.
It was a joke.
I'm sorry. I'm just sensitive after how Jeffrey talked to me earlier. He's so mean, George.
Harrison, I'm sorry.
I'm not morbid.
You wear the pants, Harrison. You wear the pants.
Yeah, I wear the pants. Anyways.
Oh, sorry. So then they have it's Frost, Glockta, Artie, and Fallow. He found Fallow. Oh, Fallow, what a good fellow. And and then he's like, this looks nice. And he's like, I had sold everything already, so I replaced it with new stuff, better stuff. I hope is it good enough? And he's like, I hope so too. Let's ask. Ooh, Artie, is it like, is it adequate? And then she's like, it will serve.
She's fucking pissed off.
She is not happy. And he's like, oh, excellent. I had no idea that you were involved. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. And he's like, you really shouldn't be apologizing to me now. And then he goes, I am so sorry. My deepest apologies. And then
he like gets down on his knees.
Yeah, maybe you were to beg on your knees. And then he's like, my lady, please. And then he's like, lower. She's like, of course. And he gets on all his fours. And he's about to crawl, and he touches the hem of her dress. Like, my lady, please. And then she just steps back, cocks, and wham! Just kicks him right in the face. And then Glock he's like, that was unexpected.
Yeah. That's for you, fucker.
Yeah, it's interesting here because this is probably the first time in a very long time, maybe ever, that Artie has actually felt powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And angry. Just angry and with everything, Because like you probably
being able to take it out.
Yeah, it's the first time she's actually been able to do anything about it.
Right.
And
so
she fucking absolutely kicks the shit out of him.
Yeah, he goes, if she ever got bored, she might have a bright future as a practical. And then he's like, oh, Glock is like, so you done? Happy? She's like, not really. He's like, well, kicking him some more make you happier. And she takes one more kick right to the fucking chest. And he's like, all right, I'm done. He's like, okay, get out. Out, worm! Out! And then Fallow's like, of course. And then he's like, thank you so much. And then hold on, oh, it's the cat running. What the fuck is running? And then he's like, thank you all so much, thank you. And then Artie just sits down and is just like, and he goes, Glock is like, I wouldn't feel too badly about it. He deserves worse. Or no, I'm sure he deserved it. And then she goes, I don't. He deserves worse. And he's like, Jesus Christ, that's an
Do you want him to have worse?
And he's like, no.
And I like how she actually considers that. She's like, no, I don't actually want him to be tortured and killed.
He's like, up to you, but it's nice to have the option. And then he goes, you might want to change your clothes. And then she looks at the dress, and there's like some blood on the knees of her dress, I guess. And then she doesn't have any clothes, but he's like, nope, we got you a whole new room, baby. Got a whole new wardrobe, bespoke, custom fitted. And he'll get her servants. He's gonna take care of her, and that he made a promise to West, and he means to see it through. He's very sorry for how things have come like this far. So have you heard from West, by the way? He says to Artie, and then she looks up at him. He's like, you don't know? And he's like, know what? And then she explains that Colin was with Prince Ladislaw at this battle, and some prisoners were taken and ransomed, but he wasn't among them. They presume he was killed. And this hits Glocta like a fucking punch in the guts. Guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's it's the same reason that we see some behavior later on too, but it's just kind of interesting to think he's like, I think he's upset with himself for being so maybe not particularly weak, but still vulnerable when he thinks of himself as emotionally invincible. And as we can see here, he's definitely not. He's still human. He still has feelings. They're just suppressed. And so in this particular case, he's like, damn. He's like, that hurts a lot harder than I expected it to.
Mm-hmm. George?
I said just exactly what Harrison said.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hold on. I'll cut that out. And yeah. So that was And so he's just sitting on this chair now, and he's just like, "Oh my god, killed my friend," and that's it. Chapter ends just like that. It's like, oh, okay.
It's very abrupt, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty abrupt for sure.
I'm gonna give this one a 5 out of 9, just because it's a very average Glocta chapter. I'm very glad to be back to Glocta and his story. Mm-hmm. And we get his usual rounds. He goes to see RD, and then he goes to see the Archlector, and then he goes to see RD again. It's very satisfying to see RD get a bit of comeuppance there. But
you mean Fallow?
Fallow, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, RD get her revenge. I meant.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's good.
Harrison?
I'm gonna give it a 5.5. 5.5. Sorry, 5 and a knuckle.
5 and a knuckle.
It is very satisfying to see Arlie back in the story, and it is nice to have him getting back to Adua, and we love Dagaska, but it's he's like back in the game now, in the overarching game, and that's nice. And I like Glocter's character is different now. He feels different. He doesn't feel as ruthless anymore in this because of Dagaska, and he may not realize that yet, or maybe he has, and that's why he's like. He just seems a lot more sentimental now, and I like that noticeable change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for
still,
sure.
It's like you said, it is a pretty typical Glocta chapter. It seemed needed to happen, but it's okay.
Yeah, I was gonna give this a 5 and a knuckle as well. It was nice return to Glocta. It's been a bit, but like George, you said, it's to Artie, then to Salt, and then back to Artie, and that's pretty much it. What we do see is like you said, Harrison, is we see the development of his compassion, of his empathy, and that's nice to see. But other than that, I'll just give it a 5 and a knuckle. Pretty straightforward. So with that, I guess we should move on to our character spot. And ladies and gentlemen, you have to figure it out. It's Fallow.
There's not really much to be said about him, is there? He's just a slimy little fucking moneylender. who takes advantage of this young woman who, doesn't have anybody else to help her. And, gets his fucking shit kicked in because of it.
Yeah. Normally for character spots, we do try to talk about some redeeming qualities. Does he have any?
He knows his fucking place.
Yeah, he knows his place. And to be honest, in this world, right? If the father owes the money and he's like just trying to collect, he's just trying to do his job.
Mm.
And so the fact that he gets captured by the Inquisition, who should technically have no say in it, theoretically, because of a personal vendetta, because it just so happens that the worst thing he doesn't do anything to Artie other than take her stuff. He's just like, hey, your dad owed me, so I'm taking the stuff. I mean, I don't really think Fallow even really did anything that wrong. What, because she's a girl? Like, if it was a guy, you feel less bad about it. I don't think he's even that bad. I think I like how he obviously he's a dickwad, and obviously he could have had some more compassion, but I mean, it's also pretty fucked up that Glock uses personal power to just take advantage of a perfectly legal business at this period of the time. But whatever.
So what you're saying, Harrison, is you don't believe in women's rights.
What the fuck?
You've been very antagonistic this episode, Jeffrey.
I haven't. Sorry. Just a little hungover. We
want to move into our next segment here. Unless you have anything to say, Jeffrey?
No, I just want to say, a redeeming quality from Fallow could be that he's prompt. He's pretty on time. He said by tomorrow, new furniture. He did it by tomorrow. Glock said get out. He got out, and he was very nice and said thank you. So I guess he's polite and prompt. That's all I got to say about this fucker. We met him for all of a paragraph.
Yeah.
So,
but we've got to do a character spot. So there you go.
There you go. So we'll move on to our community interaction segment, our final segment. And Harrison, you want to take this over for?
Yeah. So normally I do a poll and stuff, but I just wasn't feeling it this week, and we were having discussions over this past week as well, and we just want to make it clear why. So we'll mention this one time in detail, and then from then on, it'll just be at the end of the episode or in a link if you choose to do so. But we did start a Patreon. There is absolutely no reason, there's no benefit to giving us money other than the kindness of your heart, because we don't want to seem like we're begging for it. We just thought we'd make it available to you all. And it definitely all go towards the podcast, as we do spend quite a bit of time on it and trying to make it a good podcast. So we just wanted to mention that one time here. Otherwise, we'll just mention at the end of the episode and have it linked. So still, thank you for all your support. Otherwise,
yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much. Again, we won't maybe once in a while we'll send you a signed picture of ourselves.
We won't do that. We will not. We will not hurt your eyes with.
Yeah, but only if you want to donate, and even if you don't, we still appreciate it. Thank you all anyway for everything.
Yeah.
This podcast will still be free and all that, and the YouTube.
Yeah, and the reason also why is because we don't want to make it a monetized thing. We hate that. We hate the idea of that. If you guys are gonna give back to us, it should be free of anything. You know what I mean? Kindness of your heart purely, no other incentives, because we're not trying to get money out of this. It's just something that we love doing.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, Harrison. That was well put. I appreciate that. And I know the listeners will too. That's our show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. As you know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support really does mean a lot to us.
Join us next week as we cover cold comfort, the high places, and coming over.
Make sure you follow us on social media, look at our website, and if you feel like it, you can donate to our Patreon.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any podcast app that you use to listen to podcasts on. And please make sure to rate and review the podcast, as it helps to spread our reach. Thank you all again for listening. Sorry, haven't done this in a while.